15 minutes ago, this app didn't exist. Now it's live on the internet, and I didn't write a single line of code to get there. No, I didn't cheat. No, this isn't me copy-pasting from a chatbot into VS Code. I'm using Claude Code. It lives in my terminal. It edits my files directly. It runs my commands. And at one point, it made a decision I never asked for. I'll show you exactly where. Let's go. Quick catch up if you're new here. I'm Saeed, this is Elite Tech Club, and I make programming tutorials. This is video 1 of a new playlist on using AI in your actual programming workflow. Not ask ChatGPT a question. I mean agents that read your files, write code, run commands, and fix their own mistakes. If you've never used an AI coding agent before, don't worry, I'm assuming zero prior experience. If you have used one, stick around because the second half is where it gets spicy. Before we touch code, one distinction that matters more than anything else in this video. Today's tool is Claude Code. That is not a chatbot. A chatbot writes code in a chat window and you are the one who copies it, pastes it into your editor, runs it, and pastes any errors back. You are the hands. With an agent like Claude Code, it is the hands. It opens your files, it edits them directly in place in your actual project. It runs terminal commands, installs, builds, tests. It reads its own output and reacts to it. I'm not copy-pasting anything today. Watch the terminal, not a chat bubble. And because it's actually doing the work instead of just describing it, there's a catch. It will do exactly what you say, not necessarily what you meant. Ask for a login page and you might get one with no password hashing, because you never asked for security. Ask it to clean up this file and it might delete a function you actually needed, because technically the file is now cleaner. So 3 rules before we start prompting for real. Be specific about the outcome, not just the task. Build a login page is vague. Build a login page with email password, client-side validation, and a disabled submit button until the form is valid. You see, that has edges. Give it constraints upfront. Your stack, your style, your folder structure. It will happily invent its own conventions if you don't set them. Review every step before the next one. Don't chain 5 prompts blind. Mistakes compound fast when nobody's checking in between. Keep those in your back pocket. We are about to use every single one. Here's what we are building. A habit tracker. Small enough to finish in one video, real enough to actually show you the good, the bad, and the wait, why did it do that, of working with an agent. Tools for today: Angular, TypeScript, Claude Code running right in my terminal with full access to the project folder, and I'm deploying with Vercel at the end. If you're using a different agent or a different host, everything here still applies. The workflow doesn't change, just the tool name. Alright, let's build it. Let's open our code editor, VS Code, and I also opened the terminal. Here I type in Claude to start working with Claude Code. Okay, and then here I'm going to type in my prompt. Create a new Angular app called Habit Tracker using standalone components and Angular signals for state. Use plain CSS, no UI library. Set up a habit service that will hold habit data in memory for now. Okay, let's run this. Okay, now you see that Claude is asking me to run a bash command, checking the version of Node Package Manager and so on. Also the Angular version, and it asks want to proceed or not. So first option, simply yes, and second option is yes, and if I choose this one for next commands, I don't need to give my consent, so Claude Code will go ahead and run those commands, and the third one is no. So since I want to control what's going on, I'll choose the first one. At this point, again, Claude is asking for consent to create an Angular app. If you see here, scaffold, new Angular app, it says styling, no routing, no server-side rendering. Again, I choose yes. And you see here, the project has been created. Still going. You see, it's also reading some files. And now, as the next step, it's going to create some components as well as the service. So again, let's choose yes. Now, let's take a step back. I typed one sentence, Claude Code decided to run ng-new itself, picked the file names, wrote the service, wired it up. Nobody copy-pasting anything. Notice what I did not do though. I didn't just say, build me a habit tracker. I told it the architecture I want, signals, standalone components, a dedicated service. That's rule 2 constraints upfront. If I skip this, it picks for me and it might pick RxJS heavy patterns I don't want to untangle later. Okay, now before we continue, let's check our app structure. We have a core folder and a habits folder containing a habit form component and also a habit list component. In the core folder, we have HabitTS, which is our service. Claude Code is asking me to create the model first. And if I go back here, this is the suggested model or interface for Habit. An ID, a name, description, created at, which is date, and also completed dates, which is an array of strings. It's fine for me. Of course, I can tell Claude to improve that, but for now, it's fine. It's asking, do you want to create habit.model.ts? I choose yes. And now you see that inside this core folder, we have habit.model.ts. Okay, again, it wants to run a bash command, wants to check the installed @Angular core version. Let's continue. Now it wants to search Angular core type definitions for service decorator because, yeah, in newer versions of Angular, we have this @service, which is not available in previous versions of Angular. Let's proceed. Okay, now you see that's good. @service is Angular 22's new root provided service decorator, successor to @injectable, provided in root, and so on. And in the end, asks if we want to override habit.ts or not. Let's check the changes here. I'm still not happy with this implementation, so here in the terminal, I choose no. Again, you see that habit.ts is empty because I want to tell Claude what to do. Here, our second prompt, and this is the real test. Can it build a full feature end-to-end? In HabitService, add functions to add a habit, mark it complete for today, and track a strict count. Build a habit list component that displays all habits with a checkbox for today and the current strict next to each one. Persist everything to local storage. Okay, let's execute this command or prompt. Okay, it's made changes in our habit.ts file. Now let's check the output. Here we've got some helper functions, today ISO, create ID, which is apparently responsible for creating IDs for habits, load habits, which is also a function. Of course, we can also outsource these functions, but for now it's fine. Seed habits, which returns an array of habits. And as you see here, this create ID is feeding the ID property, and then we have some habits defined, drink water and description and so on, read and so on, and another function to calculate strict. And here we've got our service, a signal which holds an array of habits, and also we can see add habit function. And you see when we add a habit, we update our signal and we copy the previous habits and append the new habit to the array. And also we've got remove habit, again updating the habit array and so on. Also we've got toggle complete today, is complete today, and finally streak 4. Looks good to me. Again, back to our terminal, save file to continue, I choose yes, and here we've got all of those changes. since I didn't ask for habit form and Claude Code created that in previous steps, now it's asking to remove the unused component. Yeah, let's do it. And now it's focusing on the habit list component. Let's see. First of all, it injects the habit service to this component. And we've got new habit and new habit description, and also all the functions required. Add habit toggle today, remove habit is completed today, and all of them are using the habit service functions, as you see. Looks good. Let's also check the HTML file. If I go to for that habit, it's not done yet. So first of all, let's continue with HabitList.ts, and we'll come back to the template in a second. So one missing part was the forms module, because I guess currently it tries to use two-way binding, and because of that it needs that forms module. Maybe we change that, but for now let's accept that. Now it adds also the forms module. Now it's generating the HTML, and as mentioned, using two-way binding. Of course, we can also tell Claude to use Angular forms instead of two-way binding here, but since we've got only two input fields, maybe it's fine. Also, there's an ng submit event here, and this is submit button, which is disabled by default unless we've got a habit name entered by the user, and so on. Okay, this also looks good, and I let it to overwrite habitlist.html. And now it's writing the CSS code. But before we accept this, I want to amend that by pressing tab before writing the CSS code. Run the app so I can see the changes in the browser. Cool, it's asking to overwrite app.html. It's replacing it by this markup and the habit list here. Let's choose yes. And it imported habit list to app.ts, which is needed because we're using standalone components here. We need to import the components to their parents. So again, we continue. And now it's asking to start Angular dev server on port 4200. This command requires approval. Yes. So I go to our browser and type in localhost 4200, and this is our habit tracker app so far. Okay. And if you look at the suggested prompt here, it suggests me to add the CSS. I press tab and continue. And here we've got some CSS code. Let's accept that. And as soon as I accept the changes here, you see that in the browser. And also app.css is going to change. I choose yes. It's also changing the fonts and the box sizing in our styles.css file, which is the universal styling file. Yes, looks good. Again, continue. Let's see, we've got this habit tracker, two input fields to enter the new habit and description. We've got a new habit button initially disabled. If I enter some text here, you see that it gets enabled. And also we've got a list here, drink water and read. Cool, and the strict is set to 0. Here I'm going to add a new habit. Watch a YouTube video, a programming tutorial. I add it, and you see that it's being added here. If I delete, for example, drink water, now it's removed. Okay, looks good. I would like to enter a new command. Style this with a clean modern look, card-based layout, subtle shadows, a progress indicator for today's completion rate. Keep it in plain CSS. I hit enter, and now it starts to make the changes. Let's allow it to do so. Also, the service needs some updates. Computed signal, and also the completion rate today, which was not there before. Choose yes. And now you see we've got the progress card, progress ring, and so on, which will be added to the CSS, I guess. And also instead of habit row, now we have habit card. So changes both in HTML and CSS and TS files. So again, I'll continue with that. You see the UI is broken because the CSS is not updated yet. We need to wait. Now it's making those changes. You see progress card, habit card, and add habit card, and so on, progress card. You see all of those changes, mostly related to that progress feature. Okay. Now it's much better, and it wants to change the app.css file, the app shell, which is, I guess, the container. Yeah, app shell is the container. Then we've got the header here, habit tracker, and then app habit list, which is currently our list. Okay, again, we continue, and now let's play around with that. So I add a new habit. Let's bring back drink water because it's important for your health. I add that, and if I check, for example, read, you see that this progress bar also gets updated. Second one, and finally the last one, which is drink water, and the streak is also updated. So I uncheck one of them, 67%, which makes sense, and it seems that it's working now. Last step of the day, ship it. Again, back to terminal. Prepare this app for production deployment on Vercel, build config, environment settings, and a production build. Then run the deploy. Hit enter. It wants to check for Vercel CLI availability and login status. So before we deploy the app, we need to build the project. Let's proceed. And here you see that now we've got a new dist folder inside of our project, and also a Vercel.json file has been added. You see that Vercel.json, and let's continue. Now it wants to check Vercel CLI login status. So now the authorization is successful. I close this tab, and it's doing its job to deploy the app. Confirm Vercel CLI is authenticated. Yes. And finally, deploy the app to Vercel production. Do you want to proceed? Yes. Deployment succeeded, and here is the URL. I'll copy it and paste it here. Here you see our app. Let's also check eat fresh fruit without the description. I add the habit. I check read for 20 minutes. Let's also add another one. Go for a walk. Add this habit, and you see that everything is working as expected, now deployed on Vercel. And that's a live public URL. It ran the build, it ran the deploy command, it handled the CLI prompts. I watched. This whole app built and shipped, total start to finish. Let's pull the lesson out of this, because watch me build an app with AI isn't really the point of this video. It will do exactly what you say. So the quality of your app is downstream of the quality of your prompt. Constraints upfront save you rework later. Stack, structure, style. Say it before it builds, not after. Never chain prompts blind. Review each one. It fills gaps you didn't know you left. This is not AI replaces developers. This is the agent is only as good as the person prompting it. Writing a precise, well-constrained prompt is honestly becoming as core to this job as knowing your syntax. If you want the exact prompts I used today, plus the final repo, they are linked below. Go grab them and try rewriting one of my prompts better than I did. Subscribe if you want the rest of this AI in programming playlist. And comment one word. Tell me what you'd build with Claude Code if you had 15 minutes. I'm picking 3 comments and building them for next videos. Until next time, keep coding, keep learning, and as always, stay awesome.